welcome to another amazing episode of Say It Online, where we help digital agency owners stop just randomly shouting into the void and start communicating meaningfully and effectively in this digital age. I'm your host, Say Gabriel, and this episode was brought to you by our sponsor, Nancy Content. If you're sick of conversion content being a huge pain in your agency's butt, especially websites, campaigns, etc., let's talk. With the smoothest content process ever, a team of unbelievably skilled and organized content strategists, and years of subcontracting experience, Anansi is looking to make your life as a digital agency owner unbelievably easier. Just head, if you're interested, to anansicontent.com, that's ANANSI content.com, and hit Let's Talk. And now, without further ado, here's our episode. Welcome, everybody. This week, I am interviewing another female digital agency leader. Her name is Carrie Mayo, and our paths have crossed a few times over the years, but I've been really, really excited to sit down and have an in-depth talk because she's done something particularly exciting with her business. In the interest of niching down, she has actually shifted the whole direction of her business in a way it makes an impact. And anyway, really amazing. Carrie Mayo is the founder and creative director of MAYO Designs. She leads their web and marketing team while overseeing the management, planning, and execution of each project. Dedicated to making an impact beyond a business's simple profitability, Carrie and her team recently chose to realign the business and their target market. MAYO Designs now works with like-minded companies who care about positively impacting our world through their products or services. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you, Say. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. So before we dig in, I have a whole bunch of questions. You've been doing this a really long time. Why don't you take a few minutes just to tell us about you personally, give a bit of a deeper overview of, your story and your business.
Certainly. So I started MAYO Designs 19 years ago, and I was basically a self-starter. I had some really big ideas. I had a widespread skill set. And at the time, I was, doing everything from client relations to design and bookkeeping, as well as the coding. And as I began to grow my team, we realized that we were positioned strong in the market.
Awesome. That is just really great. You've been around for a really long time. And then in 2018, you decided to kind of take a shift. So what kind of spurred that decision? And how did you decide what direction to go in?
Well, I think a few things were happening to me. I had reached a point of success in the company, and I was growing my team. We were getting ready to hire somebody. And in the process of doing that, it was a reflection. We recognized how demanding this industry is. And if we were going to continue to service our clients in this digital space, I encouraged my team to start to think about who we actually wanted to serve. And it really became this soul-searching exercise. And I was happy to come out on the other side. The team was in alignment. And we thought that, waking up every day, not only making our clients' businesses successful, but if we could have a positive impact on our environment. And so it became almost like a new learning. We needed to define, what does that mean? The environment that we actually live in, the world that we live in, or are we talking about the environment that we are specifically working in, our office environment? Are we talking about the financial industry? So as we got a little bit clearer in who we wanted to be and who we wanted to serve, we decided that our environment as a whole, the world, making it a cleaner, safer place to live was really where our passion lied.
I think I share a lot of your values, and I envy the courage that it takes to kind of take a stand in such a powerful way. And, I have worked with and known quite a few businesses who have chosen to serve mission or impact driven brands. But it sounds like you guys are actually taking it kind of a few steps further. It's not just that these are the businesses that you're serving, but you guys are taking direct action yourselves in terms of forwarding that mission. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't just talk the talk. We absolutely walk the walk. And we've gone through an extensive internal education on sustainability. And it was almost like learning a new language, because as we began to transition and attract companies that were like-minded and share those values, we wanted to share what we learned, with each other, with our family, with our friends, and then with our community. So as we started to spread out and commit to this, I've personally been able to join a couple of municipal committees, and we've been able to initiate and successfully implement community initiatives around community composting, waste reduction and diversion. And now we're being asked to lead some of our community initiatives from a marketing standpoint and put together a proposal in order to do so.
Wow. Wow. That's really awesome. I know that's something that I personally have believed in for many, many years, which was something that was started by one of our earliest not started in my mind, at least, by one of our earliest partners, Sarah Olivieri of Pivot Ground, is this idea that what a lot of nonprofits, governments, impact-driven brands are missing is the marketing component. And often there's this kind of perception that there's a little bit of disparity between like the marketing world and say like making a positive impact and doing good. Obviously, it sounds like you believe quite the opposite. In fact, you've said that marketing can and should really be a force for good. How was it that you evolved from, just wanting to have a business that's a little bit more meaningful to kind of this really, really vision-driven path that you're on now?
Well, I think fundamentally, the clients that we've been serving to date and the clients that we are attracting have really great ideas. And we find that the consistent marketing or messaging, or what I'll call deployment and communication strategy, often falls because it's typically this core values or this marketing initiative when companies are trying to focus on their profit. The task of ensuring that their messaging is aligned with these core values is often tasked to somebody whose job it's not primarily. And if I can become that point of contact and ensure that it's embedded into everything that we do, or everything that we do in regards to servicing our clients and spreading their message, that's where I think it was missing. And that's why I think we are able to be successful in it, because we can dedicate our time to focusing on the consistent messaging.
Okay, so let me see if I'm understanding this correctly, and feel free to, readjust me if I'm off here. What I'm hearing is really that what you guys are doing for yourselves is deeply aligned with what you do with your own partners and clients, because a lot of the time, the messaging that drives a brand's marketing isn't really created or perpetuated or aligned with the person who writes the values, either because the values weren't deeply thought out, or there's just kind of a disconnect in communication there. And so what you guys have done is kind of turn the lens on yourselves and created alignment between, your actions, your values, and your messaging. Is that
I
in the
think
right
that's
ballpark?
fair. It's fair. And I think it's typical for a company to grow into or in the way that we did. So we grew by offering products and services, and we almost did it in what I've oftentimes referenced as like a helter-skelter approach. We were servicing clients as if they were willing to pay. And when that grew to success and we began to choose our clients a little bit more carefully, because we as a company were maturing our own core values. I've seen that in the clients that we're working with as well. So they started their business because of a couple of different reasons. Some of them certainly wanted to make an impact. Some of them just simply wanted to make their own dreams come true. And in the process, they learned how to establish a marketing strategy. They learned how to define their core values and how to qualify their own clients.
So do you think I think it's clear that you do, but can you speak a little bit into what ways those two are connected? I think a lot of people don't necessarily consider, specifically aligning their qualification to their values. A lot of the time, I think, at one end of the spectrum, it is kind of as you described, do they have a wallet? Do they have a pulse? On the other hand, it can be like, are these people that we enjoy working with? What are some of the ways that you do that kind of in practice, like qualifying by values? Like, is it something that's kind of intrinsic? Like you guys just kind of have a feel for it? Do you help people kind of create a framework for that? Or what does that look like?
Well, we take our clients through a journey and we basically meet them where they are at in that journey. Customers, when we attract them for marketing services, usually have an end goal in mind. They're looking to build a website. So yes, I would say it's the right word is intrinsically. We intuitively know how to guide them through the process, but we always start with, and this may sound really, funny when you're talking about business, but I start with what are the dreams of the owner? Our typical point of contact is an owner or somebody heading up the marketing department, and we need to understand, why they started their business, what types of clients they want to serve. And that's where the core values really become defined. And then through the process of understanding where they have positioned the company along the journey that we take them through, we are able to establish like those values that define how to qualify the type of client that they actually want to work with. And I'll give an example. We've had a lot of success in the eco building industry or the green building industry. And a lot of these contractors continue to say, I wish we could just continue to work for, and they would give an example of the perfect client. So when they are clear on who that client is and the persona of that client, then we can create a framework for the way that we can visually, that is obviously the graphics that we use. And then, of course, and you understand this, it's the content, it's the tone that we speak in.
Yeah.
And when the clients sometimes don't know what they want, they'll be able to tell us what they don't want.
That makes a lot of sense. I can definitely think offhand to some things that I don't want easier than what I do. So, okay, so you're starting with a dream, and I don't think that that's weird at all. I think that often that's where the power is, right? Even if we're just talking about the power of story, which is something I can tell that you value quite strongly as well, like you always need to start with that kind of like dream or goal. What is that aspirational identity? What are they trying to be? Who are they trying to make a difference for? And then unpacking that to the values, which are, the things that you kind of live by and the qualities and characteristics that are really important to you and your team, if you have a team. And then what I'm hearing is kind of unpacking that one step further into, okay, now let's look at who do we serve? Where does that overlap? What does that look like? And if I'm hearing you correctly, it also sounds like for our listeners out there who are looking to potentially implement a process like this for themselves or for their clients as well, you can actually leverage your client's understanding of who it is that they love to really understand this. Who are the people that you really, really just want to clone? Well, if I'm understanding you correctly, those are probably the people who share your values to some degree or a huge degree. I know that's been our experience and also just my experience as a consumer.
Absolutely. And it is why we've chosen to pursue clients who share our similar core values. That's the type of client we want to work with. And what we hear in return is they're choosing us over another marketing agency or fill in the blank, whatever industry, the client is choosing you over your competitor. One of the differentiating factors is absolutely going to be your likability and your core values.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really curious, how has this shift affected your own marketing decisions for your own company? Like now that you have picked a specific kind of like niche in a community and etc., how has that shifted the way that you connect to your audience?
Well, first, it gives me clarity on where I'm going to spend my time. So we know that, there, with all the advances in technologies, there is an abundance of places that you can spend your time marketing or even physically spending our time. So in niching down in this space, I no longer feel like I have to have a voice that is attractive to all. And by being more strategic about the relations and really getting deeper into building those relationships and creating that community. And the community that I'm now talking about is the geographic community that serves my area, because the truth is I can service clients worldwide, and we do. And yet, because we're honing in and wanting to have an environmental impact and believing in the community, I can attend community events. But I want to take that same philosophy to how we're positioning our clients, the community that they're building, regardless if it's worldwide, nationwide, or regional. It's being very deliberate in not having broad messaging, not having blasted emails or social media posts just for the sake of creating a frequency that they believe that they should have. I don't think that I necessarily have to focus my energy in Facebook, for example. And some clients will come to us and say, yeah, but we've been told that that's the latest and greatest thing. So we really we stop and we think about, where do you want to spend your time? What's effective, and how do we actually focus on the deeper relationship with the community? And that community obviously like broadens a little bit when you talk about the digital community that we're creating.
Yeah, but the consistent thread that I'm hearing here is really going deep rather than wide. Getting
It absolutely
a deep
is.
understanding of your company's values, a deep understanding of who your client really wants to work with, what their values are, a deep connection in your community, and helping your clients get a deep connection in their community.
Because I think we, as well as our clients, have reached a point of success. And we have created our services and our products that are solid. And we have results to prove that. So how do we then differentiate ourselves in what is oftentimes a very saturated market? And I believe that with this positioning, that is how we're doing it.
Okay, so I'm hearing that your motivation is twofold here. One is that, it's just straightforwardly a means of differentiating yourself, but I'm hearing that it's also a way of kind of paying it forward a little bit. Now that you've reached a level of success, you can not only can you be more choosy, but it's important to align yourself in a much more specific way, so you're not just one of the crowd, and that you guys are very drawn to this particular line in terms of sustainability, because that is a way that you can then use that leverage and power to make a larger impact than you would otherwise as individuals. Is that?
I think sustainability, spreads beyond the work that you do, the actual business that you have built, or the commitment that you've made to your employer. I think sustainability is a person's own happiness and mindset. So absolutely aligning your personal core values with, if you're an employee and not the owner of the business, and having a voice in that business, enjoying where you go to work every day.
Yeah, I know that's something that we're just super, super passionate about here at Anansi is that we also believe that if your values are truly aligned, then, you may not love magically literally every single minute of every single day, but it sure tips the scales in the other direction in terms of just being stoked to show up in the morning. And I think that that's a very powerful force for itself. Now,
Yeah, I
I
think
do
when
want to
we
shift up. Oh, yeah.
So,
Please
yeah,
continue.
sorry. I was just going to say, what I think when we find people who think like we do, that talk the same language that we do, that are really on the same wavelength, we're able to contribute in a way that builds that great energy and truly opens up that anything's possible. And that's the way that we talk to our clients. That's the way that we create our internal culture.
Yeah, I think that, and I want to quote saying that has been very moving for me, but I'm afraid of butchering it. But really, a small group of determined people is one of the most powerful forces in terms of changing the world. And it may not seem like much, but like you just said, that belief that not just anything, but what you decide is possible, which I guess is included in anything. But yeah, that is something that keeps you moving forward and like growing and innovating, and also like hoping and believing, which is, I think that mindset is a huge, huge part of this.
I think we
But I
vote with
do.
our dollars. Sorry, I was just going to, the last thing I want to say on that point is I think we vote with our dollars. And I would like to believe that our clients are voting for us by working with us, that they see that we are, talking the talk, walking the walk, contributing to our community, contributing to our individual and our collective happiness. And they show that by continuing to work with us. And in return, we create the results that they had expected.
Hmm. And I think all of this is actually quite radical because it paints a radically different view of marketing in general than the one that I think is commonly held sometimes. People think of like the kind of 90s, 2000s, like kids' toy commercials or something. But what you're saying is really, I think, where the future, in my just me say's opinion, but I really think this is where the future of marketing is going, right? Is in this meaning driven form where you are having a mutual exchange of trust and this kind of magical interchange of energy with the people you work with, where the energy that you're putting in is supporting them in the things that they value and the things they want to build. And, then it's in no way, and I know that most of our listeners hopefully do not still believe in the kind of wallet surgery, manipulation view of marketing. If so, you're listening to the wrong podcast. But I think that this is really growing because it makes sense. It feels good and it makes sense in terms of good business strategy. So yeah, really cool.
Thank you.
So, one of the things that I wanted to kind of dig into a little bit more is, we really believe here in real talk and, helping our listeners understand what a real journey is like. And often it's not all sunshine and rainbows and roses. So, have there been any challenges that you've experienced? What's kind of the biggest challenge that you've experienced in shifting this direction? Maybe in the past year, maybe in the past few years. What are some issues that have come up for you?
It has, out of the first word I was going to use, forced us, but it has allowed us to focus on ourselves as a client. And when we're in the middle of growth, it's often challenging to carve out time to work on the business because we're trying to deliver our services to our clients. So, and it's the same story I hear my customers having. That's why they need an outside marketing. But our biggest challenge, just to restate it again, is putting ourselves first. And in that, it is a matter of dedicating funds to this, dedicating time to this, and it's almost brought up each a person on my team's superpowers in the process. So although it's been challenging, and that's been our biggest struggle, is dedicating our time to ourselves and acting as if we're our own client, it's been extremely rewarding because we can see the strengths of each one of our team members and where they should actually be spending their time. As a small company, we still all wear a lot of hats. And I believe that if we can each do what we're really good at, then the rest falls into place. But there's been a lot of shifting. So the roles and the responsibilities have been a little bit unclear. And you want to maintain that stability, not only client facing, but just that stability from a revenue standpoint while we're going through the process. How do we now qualify? Does that mean we fire clients that we have been servicing for 10 years? Or does that mean that we, say no to certain clients? And all of that has taken place. So we have to do that in a way where we know that it's our truth.
And what are some of the ways that you kind of determine whether you're acting in your truth? Maybe when the way isn't clear, maybe there's a client you've been working for 10 years that you really like, but keeping them on means saying no to another client that maybe is very promising and in your niche, or I don't know, I'm making stuff up, but how do you stay true to your truth?
It's super relevant. And it actually just came down to an honest conversation. And to role play for a moment, I would have to speak with a client and say, I know that we've been writing these blog articles for you. We're not able to do it in the manner that we've been doing it because we now have a process in place. And the way that we worked with you before just wasn't quite working. So the conversation we now want to have with you is, how can we position this? And it's almost as if it going deeper, not wider, back to one of the things that we were talking about, it deepens where are we spending our time with the client? And sometimes we have to say, SEO just isn't making sense for you anymore. Or, the strategy that we have based on where you're actually going, because we have to talk strategy every year. That's the other thing. This marketing world changes so often. When we have those conversations and we're setting quarterly or annual goals, there have been conversations where their goals are not aligning with our goals anymore, or where we're focusing because we have results in certain areas that we are delivering our services. And we're needing to either make a referral or we shift their focus and we say, okay, if you're going to continue to work with us, this is how we want to position you. And it actually may be starting over in the journey because you evolve differently too.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there, but it sounds like it comes down to having a real and authentic conversation, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard, probably, and understanding what the next steps are. Does the way that they've shifted mean that you guys are now going to grow apart, in which case you can help them transition away from you? Is there a way that you guys, one of you or they, can shift to realign and you can kind of support them through that? It sounds like there hasn't been any one size fits all answer, but the process of having the conversation, probably sometimes more than one conversation, it sounds like in that process is where your truth is. Is that?
Absolutely. This is what we're really good at. This is where our results, this is how we've created the results that you've come to expect. And this is the skills of the team that we have now that we've grown. This is how your company has grown and transitioned into this space. And you no longer have to offer some of these other services, or you no longer have to spend your time, playing in these other marketing spaces. And if that aligns with where we're spending our time, then we continue to service them. And what we're going through right now is actually trying to be almost like a eco consultant. So we've been servicing marketing from a graphic web development standpoint for the 19 years we've been in business, and shifting into helping customers to have an assessment on their internal operations and how they can be more sustainably or have more of a sustainable mindset in how they purchase their products, how they deliver their services. One of the other challenges, just to be specific, and that we've been going through as a company, is we offer hosting as a service, and it is time to be responsible in the way that we offer the hosting. And it has taken some really hard conversations to be able to offer hosting with a clean energy source has caused us to rethink the relationship that we have with our current hosting provider.
That's big. That's really going deep. Like, what I'm hearing is that the more you dig into this direction, the more you see opportunity both to help your clients, but also to continue to hold yourselves accountable as a business.
Exactly.
I'm hearing that practicing what you preach, you're really focused on practicing what you preach. And that has caused some difficult conversations even internally. That's
on both sides. Yeah, it causes us to have a different conversation with our clients. It's an exciting one. It breeds opportunity, and it also causes us to move away from some of the relationships that we've had with people that have serviced us because they no longer have a product that meets our standards. So it absolutely goes in so many layers, so many directions.
Wow. And so this is really powerful, and I can just see it continuing to grow and grow and grow. But sustainability is such a huge world, like, have you guys picked specific, I do remember you mentioning potentially kind of like physical and social aspects of it. But basically, like, how do you pick what elements of sustainability to focus on in such a big world? Or do you just kind of, or do you use another manner than kind of a sub industry?
Well, we ultimately want to empower individuals to make decisions based on what aligns with their core values. And the way that we see this happening to have the greatest impact is to work with homeowners. And homeowners are not just those who have purchased their own home. It's anybody who is living the life of a householder. So when we select the clients that we want to work with, they are ultimately servicing that homeowner. And we can go really wide with this one. We've chosen to start in the building industry because it can be deep, and we are able to work with energy alternative companies of solar, or we're able to work with green builders, or we're able to work with landscapers who are practicing organic methods. So as wide as this is, we're looking at the green building industry and beginning to understand the audience is the homeowner. Okay. So the messaging becomes consistent.
Okay. And where do you find that's a very specific, a very focused niche? We've actually done a few projects with sustainability focused building companies. And like, is there a particular like association or industry events that you go to? Do you, find them online? Like, how do you connect with people in your niche?
We do our research first. So it's a manual process. We begin to look at the associations that are serving our immediate demographics. Associations like the New Hampshire Business for Social Responsibility. Then we have a solar client who belongs to a California Solar Storage Association, and we now can leverage the results that we've created for that company to expand and offer to the other members. So it's absolutely strategic around associations. Our newest one is something that we're really excited about, and it's called the Green Business Bureau. And we're partnering with them pretty deep to leverage their online tools to help businesses navigate the sustainability framework and discover or determine where they can focus and prioritize how to, quote, make their being our customers, actions greener, or really figure out what their sustainability future plans are.
Okay, so it sounds like you've really tuned in basically to which associations are already serving the people you want to connect with, and then basically leveraging the good work that you're doing either for people in those associations or people connected to those associations, kind of in a champion style relationship to build more connections with other like-minded companies. So basically, exactly. Yeah, awesome. And is there anything else you wanted to speak to around the idea of using marketing as a force for good, or wanted to share with our listeners either about your story or what you've learned?
I think when I stop and think about it, the one thing that I believe in, the thing that gets me out of bed every day, that continues to dedicate me to the business that we've created is it's exciting. Possibilities are endless. When we can wake up and we can imagine the type of relationship that we want to build or the type of client that we want to service, that's what's stemming out of this commitment that we've made to making this world a better place.
That I just relate to that on such a deep level. I very much like when I think about the people that like we at Anansi serve and help, and those individuals and how like they struggle and they can get better and make life better for themselves and the people around them. It actually like physically like pumps me up. Like I start like bouncing a little bit. People look at me
weird. It's absolutely visceral. You feel it. It's a different energy, and people are attracted to it. And then you become attracted to those types of people. And when I say that I jump out of bed, I wake up every day, it's because I love the clients that we work for. I love the projects that we get to promote.
Wow, that's magical. I mean, that's the dream, right?
Right.
We all hear and joke and talk about like being passionate about your work, but I think what you're talking about, that sparkle of excitement when we are connected to like-minded folks and able to make a difference. And as you said, we get to work with these projects and companies is really, really cool. Now, last question before we move to our lightning round, and you did already kind of answer one of my lightning round questions, which is what gets you out of bed in the morning, and so beautifully. So I'm curious, one thing that came up in the conversation is you mentioned that this pivot for you was possible, partially because of the level of growth that you had already achieved. Did you have any insight for some of our listeners maybe who are perceiving that they need to grow more before being able to, shift to more impact or mission-driven business? Is that just kind of the way of things, or did you have any insight for them?
I think it happens during. You don't wait for one. It's not the cart before the horse. When you are passionate about what you do, then you put that fuel into your business. And for me, when I can't imagine myself doing anything else, that's the energy that I have to put myself out there to build those relationships with the associations. So I would say whatever that little voice inside of you is that says, if I become successful, then I'll finally be able to volunteer my time or donate to this organization or whatever it is for you that you're waiting until you feel like you've achieved that level of success. Do it now, because that's what's going to fuel you to continue to operate in your business. It's that balance. I call it a work-life balance, but it's not that anymore. It's an integration.
Yeah, work-life integration. Yeah, that's just really beautiful words there. I 150% agree. If you're waiting for the right moment or to grow to a certain size to be able to make a difference, try doing it now. Even if you're thinking about waiting an extended period of time to make a leap forward that's going to be really meaningful in your business. Some of the best insight that I've ever been given by a mentor is, what if you decided to do that now instead of later? Just what if?
And that's how I've operated,
Yeah.
say. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm currently in the middle of an 8-month road trip. I'm talking to you today from Denver, Colorado, but I left my home state of Maine in September, and I'm not going back until May. And it's a cross-country journey for me to continue to spread this message around having a dream and fulfilling it. And for me, I've dreamt about traveling our country since I was a teenager. From that moment, I have strategically positioned myself to do so. I've got a business that I can work remotely. And I am still running this company from the road full time.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That is quite literally living your dream. And thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for letting us be part of that, helping you share your story of your dream and your journey. Talk about living it, right? Like not just living the dream, but living your vision and your mission. From one dreamer to another, hats off to you. I think that we need stories of struggle and perseverance to motivate us, but there's a little bit of this perception, I think, especially among the entrepreneur community, that you really just have to hustle and have to grind, and, success and pleasure and enjoyment are things that, you have to enjoy later, not now. Now you just got to put your nose down. And I think that the world needs more stories of people choosing to live their dream now, choosing to make it happen, choosing to be as opposed to just do. Thank you. I had heard that offhand, but I didn't connect that with the Denver piece. Like, wow, 8 whole months. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And over the winter too. I guess it depends what route you're taking.
Yeah, it has been. You can follow the journey. We've created a blog website. It's called BecauseThere'sNoPlanetB.com. And you can click on the tab to follow me. You can see where I've gone. You can see the places I've visited and the commitments that I have, because this is absolutely personal. It's very spiritual, but it is 100% business along the way.
Yeah, and also things that I think that it's really important that we integrate. For listeners who are curious, we will include a link to that in the show notes. And I was digging around on that site earlier, and it also has some cool tips. If you're feeling moved and you're like, I want to make a difference. I want to start living. I want to start making an impact in terms of sustainability. There's also some just really simple habit changes and tips and stuff that you can make on that site, as well as people's stories. So lots of awesome stuff to check out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you ready for the lightning round now?
I think so.
Okay, Carrie. So for the lightning round, you've already given us a wonderful answer to what gets you up in the morning. So my next question is, what is the number one thing that you do to preserve your wellness?
Self-honoring. Every single day, I practice one act of self-honoring, and that can be everything from watching the sunrise to meditating to stretching, journaling. It doesn't have to be major, but I recognize I have to do something for myself every day and celebrate it, because I want to share it, and I just simply have an opportunity. It's what we call a win with the team, and I just get to say, today I watched the sunrise and watched the sunset all on the same day, and it was really great.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really lovely. So, how do you define self honoring?
My task oriented mind, when I set out to commit to this, because I love lists, I was like, I'm going to sit down and meditate 2 times a day, 30 minutes a day, and that's how I'm going to honor myself because I know it's super beneficial. And then all of a sudden it just became another like task. And then I was like, well, wait a
Yeah.
minute, like every day is different. Like I want to just recognize one thing that I did to serve myself. So in the morning, I'll take some time to set some intentions. What do I want my day to look like? It's going to be a busy day. And then that gives me an opportunity of what that could look like. And then at night, when I'm reflecting, and if I don't feel like I have put myself first, then I can take a moment and breathe. And then maybe I journal, or maybe I study a little bit, or maybe I just simply sit and be and meditate. And so it's the morning intention, evening reflection.
Okay. So, morning intention, evening reflection, and just intentionally taking some time at some point throughout the day, and it can look different on different days, to just be and to take some time for yourself to do nothing else than to be with yourself doing something that you enjoy. Is that
And I realize it doesn't have to be major. It can just
Mm.
simply be something that I enjoyed my favorite dessert, or, I binged on a bag of chips and it felt really good. Or it could be something
Yeah.
even better, and I went for a hike and I took the day off, or I called my kids. It's all of those things, but it's not just the act of doing it and saying, oh, check, I did that. It's just celebrating in it
Mm.
for a moment. It's the smile that comes across my face to say, I served so many people today and myself.
I love that. I have heard a number of different wellness approaches or wellness stuff over the months and I guess over a year now that I've had this podcast. But I will say that that one really moves me. That really moves me. I might challenge myself to do that for a short period of time. I like the idea of making it not just another task on the list, but a moment and the celebration, which is something I know is really important for cementing habits. Again, my task brain. Um,
Right.
but, I've often struggled with how to define a celebration. Sometimes I'll kind of like jump around and dance, but I like what you're saying, which is that it's not so much about the action that you do to celebrate so much as appreciating and having a moment to just feel good that you did that thing for yourself and that it felt good.
Absolutely. Because we are conditioned to be, I don't want to say everybody, but task oriented or busy. That almost has become like our gauge of success. How are you? I am so busy.
Yes.
Wow. You must be doing some great stuff. And now I can say, how are you? I'm really good. I watched the sunrise this morning. Like that was, and you can
Mm,
hear the smile that comes across when I'm sharing it. And it's almost just
yeah.
being like, I chose to be for a couple of moments with no task, no agenda.
Yeah, I think that's so, so, so important. We did a whole episode a little while ago on the kind of the cult of busy and how there's, as you described, right? Like, how are you? Oh, I'm busy. Like, even as I have kind of adapted my own life to spend a lot more time in these kinds of moments that you're describing and less time being overly busy. And I will say, for those people who do like to do a lot, that's not to say that it's bad or wrong to put time and attention into something and focus, but this expectation that busy is correlated with success or that grinding or
Exactly.
hustling is correlated with fulfillment. I still
It
find myself getting caught in that trap. Like, oh, sorry, I was busy.
absolutely. Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
look back and I'm like, actually, I wasn't busy. I was just taking time to be present in the moment with the people that I was with and my family and going for walks and stuff like that, and not being on my phone all the time. And that's something I think we need to get over as individuals. So I think that the more people are on this train, the more power we have. So thank you. And
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Awesome. So one more question. What is the weirdest habit you have that contributes to your success?
The weirdest habit. I would say that my company is made up of superheroes. So we have superhero alter egos. And when we are feeling like we need some power, we literally stand in superhero pose. You just stand up, you put your feet shoulder width apart, and whoever your superhero is, that's the pose you take on. I'm Superwoman. I know there's, controversy over whether it's Superwoman or Supergirl or Superman, but hands on the hip, and you just stand in that power pose and get ready for whatever is coming my way.
Awesome. That's awesome. I definitely have some ideas from this interview of like stuff to like implement the team where they're going to be like, where are you getting these ideas? The episode won't have launched yet.
It became the theme of who we are. We call ourselves, it's the Superhero Project Management Dashboard. We have Superhero Thursday. Everybody wears their shirts. When we talk about the events that we're putting on, we lead with this superhero theme. And we encourage everybody to step into their greatness or whatever that quality is that leads them. So it's weird. We're superheroes, we're marketers, we're people, but it has taken on a life of its own.
That's really great. Nancy's identity, I don't know if you know this, is Sasi Alfred. We started out being like, oh, we're superheroes. And then we're like, no, we're the people behind the scenes that make everything go. And then we're like, yeah, but we're really sassy. So now we have this ongoing thing behind the scenes where we're like, is it Sasi Alfred enough? Are you being your Sasi Alfred? And we use that to kind of empower the strategist to like, be that balance of, okay, we have it all set up and ready to go for you, Batman. The people that we help, our partners in particular are Batman.
Exactly.
But also, like, we're going to be a little bit sassy. We're going to speak up. We'll have the chicken soup ready for you and like hug you like a
I love
auntie,
it.
if you're having a bad time. But we're also going to be a little sassy. Glad we're not the only ones.
No, not the only crazy or weird ones.
Oh no, not. Weird is the new normal, or at least weird is cool a lot of the time.
Yes.
We're all weirdos here. Yeah. Awesome. Well, did you want to share with the audience, how they can find out more about you, the stuff that you're working on, anything that you might have for them? You mentioned there's no planetb.com. Did I say that right?
Yes, it's because there's no Planet B. And our marketing services are MAYODesigns.com. I know that you said you'll put both of the links, but ultimately you can Google both of those, will come up. And if you have a story to share, if you have something inspiring, if you have tips and tricks of being more sustainable or living a fulfilled life, we absolutely want to hear from you as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Carrie. This has been absolutely excellent.
Thank you so much, Say.
Awesome. And as always, to our listeners, I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. And that does it for another amazing episode of the Say It Online podcast. Join us next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe, whether it's iTunes, whatever your favorite podcast player is. It is always, always appreciated. It really makes a difference for us. It helps us get this word out to more people. As always, this episode was brought to you by our sponsor and Say's own business, Anansi Content. If you're a digital agency owner and you're still wasting too much time chasing down content that maybe isn't even all that great, let's talk. We've spent years working on the best process for selling, planning, and delivering amazing conversion content for your client projects. Better yet, we moosh our process to yours so that your client and you have a seamless and amazing experience the entire time through. If you're interested, just go to our website. That's www.anansicontent.com. That's ANANSI content.com. And just click Let's Talk. I'd love to chat with you. Someone else on the team would also love to chat with you too. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day.